All right, guys. So I've always been a proponent of the Republican Party getting some new ideas, right? Democrats have bad ideas. Republicans basically have no ideas. So that's just kind of how it goes. And I've always been the type of person where I'm like, okay, eventually the Republican Party is going to have to evolve in some sense, right? Now, this is not what I meant, right? I did not mean for the Republicans to hop on board with increasing the minimum wage. And this right here is a complete shock to me because you have Mitt Romney, who, like I said, it definitely has some more liberal tendencies. And then you have Tom Cotton, right, who could be a 2024 potential nominee as well. I think he's a senator from Arkansas, coming out and saying, hey, we want to raise the minimum wage and ban businesses from hiring illegal immigrants. So let's read the details. Republican Senators Tom Cotton and Mitt Romney will introduce a bill Tuesday which would raise the minimum wage and ban businesses from hiring illegal immigrants. Cotton released the news in a series of tweets saying the bill would gradually increase the minimum wage while making sure American citizens are not losing jobs to illegal immigrants. The bill would require employers to verify legal status of all workers so that American citizens have job priority. Quote, millions of Americans are struggling to make ends meet. I'm introducing a bill with Senator Romney to give them a raise by increasing the minimum wage and ensuring businesses can't hire illegal immigrants, protecting American workers, Cotton said. Quote, today, Americans have to compete against millions of illegal immigrants who take illegally low wages under the table. We can fix this by requiring employers to verify the legal status of every worker so that they can't undercut Americans on the black market. Quote, at the same time, Congress hasn't raised the minimum wage in more than a decade, so paychecks of our poorest workers by less than they did in 2009. This is leaving many Americans behind. Our proposal gradually raises the minimum wage without costing jobs, and then it sets it to increase automatically with inflation. This minimum wage increase will go into effect after the pandemic has ended and include protections for small businesses, Cotton continued. Now, as you can see here, here's all the tweets in which Cotton is explaining this. And then you have Romney as well, who backs this up, right? So there's no specific number that they are raising the minimum wage to. So I really can't go too deep into what the actual number is. I imagine that it's probably at $15 an hour with the Democrats. So this is interesting to me. And the timing is also interesting because the Democrats are prepared to send the COVID relief bill with the $15 an hour minimum wage to the Senate, right? And if it gets past the process of verifying that it can actually be done through reconciliation, then it will be voted on, okay? In which we already have at least a couple Democrats, including Blue Dog Democrat Joe Manchin, who has basically been threatening to vote no on the bill if the $15 an hour minimum wage is included in it. However, at this point, it does seem like the Democrats are really trying their best to push forward with this. And with Mitt Romney and Tom Cotton coming out here and now having their own minimum wage bill, that may give more juice to this whole minimum wage movement. And at this point, it may be inevitable that the minimum wage is going to be raised sooner rather than later through federal legislation. Guys, and I've talked about my stance on minimum wage. I'm not against the minimum wage. I just think that it's a state issue, right? Like Romney, Utah, the minimum wage is $7.25. I don't know. Maybe you should raise the minimum wage in your state first, see what happens, and then you can come report to us the results and then go from there, right? At least with Tom Cotton's state, at least Arkansas, they have been raising the minimum wage. So at least he can be like, well, in my state, we've been doing it and this is how it's been working out, blah, 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 whatever, right? So, I'm not one of those people that think that, raising the minimum wage is going to, destroy everything. But at the same time, I am one of those people that's like, I don't think that this is the federal government's role, right? I think that the state governments can decide whatever minimum wage they want. Preferably, I would not have a minimum wage. Preferably because I just think that that's a lot of burden on small businesses having to pay a set wage. Okay. And I think that it also keeps certain groups of people out of the job market, particularly those who have no skills, who want to enter the workforce or want to get in the job market. But however, if minimum wage goes too high, for example, $15 an hour, somebody might be like, I'm not hiring a teenager, or I'm not hiring somebody that's a low skill worker, somebody with no skills and no work experience for $15 an hour. My thing is, I just want people who have low skills, who want to get skills, and who need to get work experience better get work experience. Right? That's why, in college, right, you take unpaid internships. Right? Your freshman year, you take unpaid internships. Why? Because the work experience is valuable. You get that on your resume, and then you use that to get a job where you actually can get paid because you have work experience. So when you have a higher minimum wage, like $15 an hour, I really do think that is going to disproportionately affect those that have low skills, that are trying to get in the workforce, that have been out of the workforce for a while. And, I think it's just going to make it a lot harder for those people. And I think that there needs to be a market and opportunity for those people, right, to have low skills, right? And plus, also, I think it puts a burden on small businesses too. So I just think this is interesting time. I think it's even more interesting that this is coming from two Republicans proposing this. Now, the part about keeping illegals from getting jobs, that's the whole Republican spin, right? Where they're saying, you know what? We're for raising minimum wage, which could be a burden on businesses, particularly small businesses, particularly businesses that are in the more rural areas of our country. But we're not going to let them hire illegals and undercut Americans, which presents an interesting conundrum, because the whole raising minimum wage thing would incentivize more hiring under the table. So if you don't let these companies hire under the table in order to try to avoid paying the minimum wage or a higher minimum wage, then basically those companies are going to be forced to go out of business because they can't hire under the table. So that's the interesting part about this whole Republican proposal here, right? In the sense that I guess they're trying to frame it as if, well, the only people that are going to benefit from this are Americans. Right. And we're going to get rid of the hire of illegals and it won't be on the table. Now, I can imagine libertarians are hating this. Right. Libertarians are hating this Romney Cotton plan because they probably smell big government all over this proposal. Not only are you raising the minimum wage, you're forcing businesses to pay a certain wage, but you're also keeping them from hiring whoever they want. Right. The libertarian position on immigration is hindering immigration hinders free trade of goods and services across borders, right? So I can imagine that libertarians are probably hating this right now. So it's definitely interesting, right? It's an interesting dynamic. I don't necessarily know how this plays into the stimulus stuff. I'm not necessarily sure if that means that Romney will vote for the Democrat plan to raise the minimum wage. I'm not necessarily sure if that means that Tom Cotton will vote for it. I'm not entirely sure. But I do know one thing. Them proposing this definitely has given a big boost and some Republican backing to the minimum wage debate, in which I think at this point is now inevitable that this is going to happen. So stay tuned. Just a quick little thing on that. Let me know what you guys think. Are you surprised to see Mitt Romney and Tom Cotton pushing this? Let me know. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.